Today sees the launch of a brand new theme podcast episode that we're bringing to all of our listeners on the Rise of the Trades podcast. And we've called this episode the 60-minute fix. In other words, we're going to be giving all of our members inside our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community the opportunity to join me live on one of these episodes where within 60 minutes, I'm going to give you the answers and solve all of the problems that you've got to some of the challenges, obstacles, hurdles, bottlenecks that you've got in your business that are stopping you from growing. Now, if you want to discover how you can join me live on one of these episodes, you need to stay tuned right until the end of this podcast. And then I'm going to share with you what you need to do to find yourself on one of our future episodes. So let's transition over to our very first Fix It in 60. Today, I'm excited to be joined by James McEvoy. James is the director of MKL Cable Solutions, a digital TV, satellite and telecommunications business based in Milton Keynes. Now, James is a member of our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community, and today is making history by being our first member on our new 60-minute fix episode. So, James, welcome to the show.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me. I'm proper nervous, but I'm excited and hopefully you can help me.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for joining me, James. And now we've got 60 minutes to solve any challenge, any issue, any problem that you've got in your business. Now, in solving your challenge is also going to solve other business owners' challenges as well, because the challenge that you've got won't be unique to your business, will it? I'm sure there'll be other people out there that's got the same one. So to start off with, James, let's just take a minute for you to introduce yourself and your business so people are aware of what it is that you do.
Okie dokie. I've been going since 2010 and the company's called MKL Cable Solutions. I originally thought of that name because I'm based in Milton Keynes and two of my daughters, I was thinking their initials, MK, is the same initials, but then I started to kind of get a bit adventurous and I thought if I added an L, I'd have all three of my daughters. So it is a bit personal. I know lots of people say don't do that, but I just went with it at the time because I wasn't really thinking of starting a business. I just wanted to work for myself and I'd had enough of working for other people. And then that was the beginning of it. I was contracting for other people doing TV installs, aerials and satellites. And it's kind of grown more into more of a customizable installation service. So now what I specialize in is media walls. We do a lot of TV installations. And then over the years, I've ended up becoming a Richer Sounds approved installer. So we do a lot of hi-fi and home cinema systems for them. So it's been a while and it's getting there, but I never set out to run a business. I just wanted to work for myself. So now I'm getting to that stage. And after being in the Facebook group that you do and talking to a few other people, I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I kind of need to know what I'm actually doing, even though I kind of know, but completely winging it at the same time.
Yeah, I get it. And let's face it, I think when anybody sets up a business, nobody sets up with the bigger intention of building, growing and scaling. A lot of times it's just, we want to work for ourselves, maybe earn a few extra quid, be his own boss. But as we know, as your business starts to grow, that it doesn't unfold that way, does it?
It really doesn't. I've had staff over the years. I've had apprentices. At the moment, my daughter's working for me. She worked for me before. So now the team I've got of contractors that I can use, I've wangled out the weak ones, which took a long time because some of them are really good at fooling you to think that they're loyal. And now you've kind of got the ones that you can pick and choose on jobs and you know what their criteria is. So you can kind of pick the customers for that one. And you think, no, I'll need to go to this guy, but I can send somebody else to the other one.
Right, brilliant. So we've set the scene. So what is the number one challenge that you want me to solve for you?
Right. I'm sure you can do it, but let's see, because I've got no systems in place and I haven't got anything that I can follow a customer journey from the booking in process to liaising with them later on and seeing where they are in the process. So I've had people say, I can help you with your systems. But what I've found, it's finding a system that works for me. I'll be open and honest with you. I'm dyslexic. So some systems that might work perfectly for other people and it's an ABC format and away you go, that could be great. But what I found with some of the things that I've tried to use, they just didn't gel. And I just found like it was just too confusing for me.
Okay, so what you're thinking of here then is you need to put the right systems in place within your business and the right processes to allow you to do what?
Well, I want to be more organized because I recently, I don't know, it's a long story, but through having a bit of a meltdown and having to take a bit of a step back, I had a friend of mine help me and he was doing my emails for me. He was even answering calls and I was forwarding him my voicemail messages. And what that kind of gave me after about 5 months was the realization is that, hang on a minute, I don't need to do all this. Somebody else could do this. And it gives me the time to either be on the tools, have a bit of time off, or do a bit of back office, or just do something else. And since then, I've been trying to race to find the right system or people to help me. So at the moment, my wife helps me do my emails because she's a lot better at spelling than I am. And she hates talking to people on the phone. I have had to force her into it. And you never want to force someone to do something that they're not comfortable doing because it's just not natural then and it's quite robotic in a way. So it's finding something, someone to kind of help me through those processes because I think it would give me more time with my family. And now that I've reduced my working week to Tuesday to Friday, I'd be able to kind of do a lot more for myself instead of just doing it a bit of a hobby or a segment of it. I could fully commit and go, no, I can actually do this because it's for me and do stuff with the family a lot more.
Okay, so far what I'm hearing from you is you want to put some systems and processes in your business. You've done a little bit of this in past and it worked to free up your time so you can start to focus on growing and scaling your business, but get time back to spend with your family. Is that right?
Big time. If I could scale enough that I can not necessarily be the one point of call for everything, I think that would free my time up, but it allow other people. There's a lot of talk about empowerment and everything, but I think it would empower other people to be able to help me and do more for me, and then they'll gain experience through doing that as well.
Okay, and what's the bigger goal then? So you are where you are now, right? But what is the bigger goal by freeing up your time, putting these systems in place, bringing in maybe a team to help run the systems? What's the bigger goal with the business then? What are you going to do with that time once you've got it back?
That's a really good question. I think for me personally, I'd like to be able to have some weekends away with the family and switch off and not have to be putting fires out and holding people's hands. I think that's a big thing for me. Because it's your baby and it's your business, you feel like you've got to spread yourself and do everything. And the last couple of years have really helped me learn that, hang on a minute, I don't need to be everything and everywhere. If I can remove myself a bit out of it, and especially if it's scalable, the less I'm involved might actually help it to grow.
Okay. And when you say grow, what does that vision look like then? Grow to what? You know, what we're talking turnover wise, what we're talking staff wise, how many sort of like vans do you want on the road? How many teams do you want? And I'm not trying to put words into your mouth here, James, because not everybody wants a big business. And you don't have to have, let's say, a big business to make some decent net profit and get your time back. So I'm not trying to tell you that you've got to grow a massive business. But just so I can best advise you, what is all this starting to look like? What does it look like when it's built and it's finished?
Oh man, a few years ago I tried to build it a bit and I didn't have a clue what I was doing and it all failed and I nearly closed. I had 2 vans on the road. I had anything up to about 4 contractors at any one point, but I was still on the tools and I was still managing that, still ordering stock, still quoting jobs, liaising with all the customers, booking the diaries, and I had no systems and I couldn't. necessarily be there to hold people's hands. And what I found is sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, if a job was booked in for 3 days and people milked it out to 5 days and got away with it, they would. And it's not necessarily their fault. I allowed it. So I was losing money on jobs and I was paying out for 2 vans and other contractors. So I tried to scale it without knowing how to scale it. And you've probably seen this umpteen times. It's like a stack of cards. You get one weak point and it all fails. So now I've got 1 van. It's just me, my daughter and my wife, a couple of contractors. But I'd like to get my daughter driving, which is the next thing, and then get another van so she could do installations and services and stuff like that, and even quotes. So that's something that's in the behind the scenes. I'm trying to get her comfortable liaising with customers and knowing what to look for. And then I'd like, if I could, a couple of maybe 3 vans or 4 on the road, and all I would be doing is dealing with a few customers, going to eat people's biscuits, drinking their tea and getting paid for it. That'd be awesome. That'd be an awesome dream. But paying the bills and not worrying what's in the bank. Have we got enough money this month?
Yeah. Okay. Well, as all this is unfolding and what you're describing to me now, James, this is the classic. If we don't put the right systems and processes in place now, as you've already experienced once before, this is where you move into that busy fool territory that I talk about, right?
Yeah.
So have you got a notepad and pen to make some notes? And anybody else that's listening or watching this episode now that feel like they're in a similar position to what James is, you also need to make some notes, because I'm going to tell you what you need to do next, right? It's not a 5-minute job. It's going to take a little bit of time. And it's one of the bigger areas of business that needs taming and mastering. But if we don't tame and master this beast, then we are just going to be slaves to our businesses forever. Okay. So here's where we're going to start. This is the classic tale of trading. Write this down: time for money, right? We're starting to trade our time for money. In other words, what I mean by this is your business right now, James, is in your head. You're the only person that knows how it works from top to bottom, right? Which means 1 minute you're on the tools and you're the engineer. Then the next minute you're doing the marketing. So you are the marketing department. Then the next thing you are the accounts department because you're doing all your invoices. The next thing you're the admin person because now you're doing all the admin and your quotes and your paperwork. The next thing with a recruiter because now we need an extra subby to come and give us an hand on this job. So everything right now is in your head, and that's dangerous. Because if we start to scale the business while everything's in your head, it's not a case of, oh, I'm going to make more money because I've got more jobs running. This is a case of, I'm going to chase the money without putting the systems in place and the processes, which means that all that's going to happen is your working hours are going to go through the roof because the systems aren't there for you to delegate and outsource a lot of this to other people, which means you've got to do everything, which means your working hours go through the roof while you're chasing this extra profit. And that's what we call that busy fool territory. Would that be fair?
It's like you've just jumped into my head and gone, I know what you've done. I know what I've seen through your eyes, because that's exactly what it was. I was doing like 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the evening. And with my dyslexia, I don't know if anyone else gets this as well. After about 4 o'clock, if you get an email from me, good luck deciphering it. And then that costs me more time because people are coming back to me going, what languages have you written this in? So I've got to do it again. So now I tend to do all my emails early in the morning because I'm awake, I'm aware. And now working with my wife, she can kind of go through those things for me to alleviate that pressure. But I'm still, as you say, everything's in my head. And she comes back to me constantly going, but that's in your head, babe. How do I know that? Help me. And it's getting that all out.
Yeah. Well, the way in which we're going to help her is to get that out of your head and put into a process and a system, which is what I'm going to share with you right now.
Cool.
So the first thing that we've got to do here is we've got to understand, just write this down, James, LVT. LVT. And LVT stands for low value tasks, right?
Oh.
So as the business owner, your role in your business is not to be doing all the low value tasks, all the admin. I mean, come on, if you're doing all, let's say, the admin and doing all this yourself, you're the world's most expensive glorified admin person. You shouldn't be dealing with the admin, should you?
No.
Somebody else should be doing that. And we know this, but for many of us, we've tried to outsource in the past, and for whatever reason, it's not worked, right? So number one, we've got to get rid of all them low value tasks by putting a process in place and then delegating them to someone else that can do it a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, and a lot more faster than we can,
Yeah.
allowing us time to focus on, write this down, HVT.
Okay.
The high value tasks in our business, like how can we increase our profit margins, understanding and looking at all the numbers in the business? How can we start to attract more profitable leads coming into us business? How can we speed up the payment terms? How can we become a cash rich company? How can we grow this business? What 90-day action plan do we need to put in place to be able to get his business to that next level? They're what we need to be focusing on as a business owner, not doing the quotes, sending invoices, answering phone, sending text messages. Are you with me?
Yeah, and that's you just touched on something there actually, because my wife said to me, if we've got WhatsApp and you've got your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, not so much for customers, that's more just for silly content. That's what I use that for anyway. But I do get the odd thing through it. And then you've got whatever else, whether you use Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that, and LinkedIn. If you've got all those avenues, it's going to bottleneck. And then you've got your emails, your website, and your phone. And she keeps saying to me, we need it simplified, because if you've got half a dozen ways that people can contact you and she's not aware of who and when and what folder that's in and where everything is, I could be saying to her, oh, there's a job for Mr. Smith on the 14th. She's like, you never told me about that. And I was like, but he sent me by WhatsApp. She goes, I don't see that. So I've got to simplify it because it's getting so confusing.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where we start with simplifying everything. What we've got to do is we've got to get out of James's head the customer journey that you are taking people on. Because right from the lead coming in, you, James, you know every single step that you need to take a customer on from that lead coming in to them becoming a paying customer. So everything from the initial vetting of the customer, going out and doing the home or site survey, coming back, putting the quote together, sending the quote off, making the follow-up call, ordering materials if you win job, organising labour if you win job, doing the job, 5-star review being left at the end of the customer journey, video testimonial got at the end of the journey. You know how all this lot works, but your team don't, which is where we've got this breakdown of communication. So the starting point for anybody that's wanting to systemize, automate, and put processes in the business is they need to flow out that customer journey. You've got to flow it out because it's in your head, but we've got to get it out of your head into some kind of flow that other people can understand. So here's how you do that. So to flow it out, we're going to break this down into 3 segments in your business if you want to write these down. The first part is what I call the before customer journey. The second part is the during customer journey. And the third part is the after customer journey. So let me just explain what I mean. The before customer journey means something has to happen task-wise, process-wise in your business before you actually get given the nod on the job. So an example of that is the lead comes into your business via email, via phone call, via direct message on Facebook, perhaps. The lead comes in, then what happens next? So in your business, what would happen next when that lead comes in?
Okay, so if it's through the website, if it comes through the website, they normally get a default email back to say, thank you for contacting us. Someone will be in contact with you within so many working hours or working days. And then it will have our working hours on it if you've contacted us out of hours and everything. And then I would normally contact them, either email, phone call, to kind of confirm details and when's convenient. If it's phone call, if I've answered it, so that's the other thing. If I've managed to answer it and I haven't been up a ladder or drilling or anything like that, it'll go to the voicemail, and then I'd normally get back to them as soon as I've picked that up. Because I'm with a customer, I can't just go, oh, can I just stop you there for a second? I'm going to take this call because they're more important than you. So I will let it go to voicemail. And my voicemail does say, which is beneficial to me in a way. I copied a friend of mine and he said, mate, use it, but put it in your own words. It says, I might be drilling, I could be up a ladder, I could be holding a massive TV. So do leave a message. So people are quite friendly in leaving a message because of that. And I'm just trying to think if it's a message. You know yourself, you can't always sit there on your phone waiting for messages. So if I've seen it while I'm at work, it might be the end of the day by the time I contact someone, because I don't always deem a message as urgent as a phone call. If it's someone's, I really need your help right now, they'll call you. If it's a message, it's normally kind of end of the day. And it's still on me. So my wife will help me with my emails or an inquiry. She might even call me and say, this person's got in contact. And then if it's through a contracting company that's contacted me, I've normally got 48 hours to contact the customer or to make contact. But that's still me making contact or my wife doing an email.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about now. Straight away, you are putting barriers to entry from people, becoming customers, because you're prioritizing leads. You've got no systems, you've got no processes. Every lead is mega important. Every lead is urgently important. So we need some automation and processes in place that deals with that lead literally like that.
Yeah.
For every lead. So this is what I'm talking about. What we need to do is get out of your head, James, every single step that you go through from that lead coming in all the way up to you've sent the quote, you've followed it up. And at that point, the customer or client is either going to say, James, I want to go ahead or I don't. So every step that you go through in that before you get the job, you need to flow down and get out of your head, because it's that we need to systemize and process, and then we're going to delegate that. Are you with me?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Number two, the during. What I want you to do is I want you to assume that you've won that job. So what are all the steps that you need to take your customers through from them saying, James, we want to go ahead, to you actually starting the job?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's, if I've sent the quote and everything else and they've agreed, then obviously it's deposit, it's organising that side of things, ordering stock, confirming dates. Because I don't like to confirm a date if it's a sizable job until I've got a deposit. So I always say to people, I can order your stock and get it all ready. I can either get it delivered to you or to me, depending how big the equipment is. And then we can start the job and confirm dates. So there might be a couple of emails back and forth or phone calls for that process just to finalise everything.
Yeah, okay. So that's during. So you're going to get everything out of your head, what you do during the job.
Yeah.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to say, right, once the job is finished and you've done the job, the after, once it's done, finished, you're putting your tools in your van and you're driving off. What happens after? Because the job's not finished just because you've put your tools in van and you're driving off, because we've got other things that need doing, like final invoice, taking payment, bank reconciliation, 5-star Google review, video testimonial, maybe a bouquet of flowers or a thank you card from your team to that customer so we can get more referrals. So your referral strategy kicks in. So just give us an idea when you get to the end of the job now, when you shut your van doors and you drive off, give us an idea of some of the tasks that you've got to do.
For me at the moment, because we're quite a small company and it's all in my head, I tend to contact the customer within a week or two just to see if everything's okay, if they've got any questions. And then what I've been doing in the last kind of year is contact them maybe 3 months, 2 months later, just to make sure everything's settled in, it's all good, or if they've added any more equipment and if they want any help or assistance with it. After that, I really want to get something in, but I haven't. The next point of call for me, unfortunately, would be if they want more work doing or if they've recommended me. So that's where I'm really lacking. I'm lacking in kind of the follow-up.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. So For us to be able to systemize the business, you've got to get them 3 areas down out of your head, right? In as much detail as you can. So let me give you an example. I'm not saying this is your customer journey, but it's probably a typical customer journey, okay? So here's what I would do. Phone call, right? Let's say it's a phone call. Number 1, that customer needs vetting to start off with to make sure that they are not a time waster and tire kicker.
Yeah.
So what's the script? What are the vetting qualifications and the pre-qualification questions that you're going to ask that potential customer over the phone? Because we're not going to look at every job, are we?
No.
We've got to vet some people out and get shut of them. And likewise, once we've got that vetting form written down and scripted out for the phone, them same questions then get put onto a vetting form that's on your website or your landing pages. So again, anybody that inquires via your website or emails, if you like, they've got to go through that vetting form. So number 1, you need to get them vetting form questions and that script together.
Okay.
Number 2, I'm guessing at that point, if they've passed the vetting stage, the next logical thing is, right, I need to call out and do maybe a home survey or a site visit. However, do you have to have a look at every single job in today's day and age? Because
No.
I've got a lot of most of my inner circle members, being honest now, are doing either video or photo surveys, right? Instead of going out and looking at every job, because what we don't want to do is go and look at a job, half an hour drive there, you spend an hour on job measuring it up, half an hour drive home, put your quote together, send it out, and you follow it up, and customer says, oh, we've gone with a cheaper quote. Why? Well, you were £1,000 more than everybody else. Well, what were your budget? 800 quid. It's like, what? Why have you just wasted time? So this is why I'm saying, if we vet people and get the timescales and the budget, and then to free up your valuable time, rather than you going and looking at every job, we can bring in an automated system that triggers a link off to them in an automated email and text that says, right, you've got 3 choices. Click this link if you want to do a video survey, right? So maybe on WhatsApp or Facebook, right? Where they book an appointment and you sit at home, right? While they're walking around the job on a video, right? Showing you what they want doing. 2, it can be a photo survey. So you might say, well, if you don't want to do a video, click this link and then upload photos. We need this photo. We need this. Upload your measurements here. That lot comes through to you.
Okay.
Or the third and final option is, and this is mainly for elderly, probably type of customers, they might not have got that technology. So they do need a site or home survey. So all that lot can be systemized and automated, where once you've got the budget and you've got the timescales and you know they're not a time waster, you literally click a link, click a button in your software, which triggers automated emails and text messages off, giving them the option for them to book one of them 3 surveys. So are you doing anything like that?
Not automated. I haven't really got anything automated at the moment. I do the odd videos and photos, which I've found personally has helped massively. And then depending on the size of the job, I always do free quotes. But what I've started to do is charge for a survey. And then if the job goes ahead, they get the money back from that survey and that comes off. So it's almost like to kind of not do a secret handshake or anything like that. It's more to kind of pay for my time, and they don't think that they're wasting my time at the same point. Then they can pick my brain while I'm there, ask me as many questions. And if we've given them any plans or measurements for the job that we're proposing, like a media wall, if we go there and measure up and we've measured their ceiling, the wall and drawn out anything, if they don't choose us and they want to go somewhere else for whatever reason, they've paid for that. And that's fine. But I find out of all the surveys, to be fair, I've probably got about a 95% success rate if I've charged for a survey. And then they get the money back on install. So we just take it off of that for them.
Yeah, and that's another great way, that, isn't it, to find out whether they're a time waster or whether they are serious about going ahead, because the ones that are time wasters probably won't want to pay for a free quote, will they?
No. So And I've given it the option to a lot of customers, and that's helped me in the last year with the tire kickers and stuff like that. Because if a customer's come through whatever process I've got in place at the moment, if it's WhatsApp, and I say send me some photos or a video of the back or what you want or what size the TV is and everything else, they can just send me some photos, what type of wall it is, and I can give them a quote straight away. And it's not a problem. And that saved me visiting, driving, all the fuel, everything else. And then they know, oh, here's my budget. Yeah, actually, that option or this option doesn't fit, but option C fits in my budget and we can get them booked in. So I'm kind of doing that at the moment. Probably not enough, if I'm honest, but I do it.
Right, okay. So going back to that before section then, you're going to vet the customer. You're going to give them options on which way they want to go regarding the survey, right? Then I presume that once that survey has been done, somebody needs to price the job. So we need a system in place to help you do the pricing. Then once the price has been put together, we then need somebody to type up, let's say, the quote. The quote gets sent out. The quote must always get followed up with a specific follow-up script that I can let people have, right? So you follow it up. And then at that point, the job's either won or it's not, right? So when I'm talking about the before stage, that's what we've got to get out of our heads, right? All them different steps on what you do, because what you do, James, might be slightly different to what other people do. Are you with me?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I do exactly the same as everybody. I recently got told, and I suppose this comes down to helping with the process as well, is that a lot of people come to me because they want to choose me because I've been recommended. So I've kind of, this is going to sound so big-headed. I hope it doesn't come across this way. That one customer said, like, I'm the unique selling point. I'm the USP because they want my customer service. They want someone with a personality to come and do their install because they feel like they've got a relationship with you, maybe a bit of banter, but they know who they're getting. So if they ever want me to come back, they know they're getting the same person. And trying to put that onto others is really difficult. And when you get a contractor out and a customer contacts you and says, I don't want him back, I didn't gel with him, you've got to take heed and realise, oh, hang on a minute, there's a certain criteria here that my customers are expecting. And, you've got to kind of play to that, to your strengths.
Well, you have, and I know we're going off at beaten track here, but you can't scale a business if everybody wants you, can you? You can't.
No,
You
there's
can't
only
do
one
it.
me.
So there is an educational process and something else I can teach you, perhaps for another episode, where what we do is within the marketing, right? We bring your team into the marketing. So, for instance, your team, even subcontractors, would be on your videos. Your team would be on your website, their photos on your website. You've heard me talk about you can't be a faceless company in today's day and age. And what we do is we educate people in the fact that, yeah, it might be James coming out to do the survey, but it's not James that's actually doing the actual work. Because everybody will want James, but there's only 168 hours in a week and you can't be in 10 places at once. So you can't scale until you bring that part of the strategy in, which is, again, going off beaten track, but that's where we need to be.
Okay.
So what we do is get everything out of your head on what you do before, step by step. Then what we do is for the during stage, in other words, they want to go ahead, right? So what happens when they want to go ahead? What happens next? Well, they have to sign our terms and conditions. They have to pay their deposit. We've got to book them into our installation calendar and diary. We update our customer on the progress. We've got to order materials. We've got to sort our labour out. We've got to do all these different things. All that lot needs to come out of your head. And then the final stage, which is the after, is when the van doors are shut. What do you want to happen after? Are you with me? So what I'm saying is you've got to get that out of your head, because without that, you cannot delegate it. And without that, you'll never be able to go on holiday for 2 weeks without your customers ringing you, phoning you, texting you, harassing you while you're on holiday, because everything is in your head. So step number 1, get it all out of your head, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. The next thing that we need to look at then is we need to look at what software are we going to start to use to literally build our entire business on.
Okay.
Because obviously this before, during, and after customer journey, that lot needs putting into some software so we can automate it, so we can systemize it, so we can delegate this. In your case, to your wife, we can delegate it. So all them low value tasks are now being delegated to somebody else, right?
Okay.
So what software or softwares are you currently using, if you're using any, in your business?
So what I'm using at the moment, and this is kind of just so my billing and invoicing and everything else, I'm using QuickBooks at the moment. I used to use Invoice to Go years ago, which is quite a simplistic form of it, and it's just for invoicing. So now I've used QuickBooks for quite a while, and I'd say I'm quite comfortable with where things are. I'm not making as many mistakes as I did a few years ago. But what I found is that it's all great for invoicing and keeping track and everything else, and it's transferable into like MailChimp if you want to do that sort of system, which is good. But it doesn't give me much automation. So obviously I've got another system that we use to take photos of, Dext, and we take photos of all your receipts and everything, and that puts it over to QuickBooks, because QuickBooks receipt photo system is not so automated. You've got to put in all the information again. So we're doing that, but I'd really like to kind of have more of a flow with the system as well.
Okay. Make a note of this then. To systemize and automate any trades type of business, there's 3 pieces of software that you must bring into your business, right?
Okay.
And if you bring these 3 types of software in, you'll be able to automate the entire business, everything from a lead coming in to all them things that we've just discussed in the before, during, and after. All that lot can be systemized and automated, but you need these 3 pieces of software. So the first piece, you've just mentioned it. You need, I would recommend, either QuickBooks or Xero to look after all your financials and all your numbers in your business. Now, most people use QuickBooks or Xero literally for their invoicing. Some people use it to send out the quotes on, and for me, that's a big no-no. You should, in my opinion, never send out quotes on QuickBooks or Free Agent or Sage or Xero, because those quotes are part of your sales process. They're part of your sales documentation, and they look crap. Let's face it. You sending out quotes from things like QuickBooks, it looks like an invoice. They look crap. Whereas your quotes, estimates, proposals, whatever you want to call them, they should look stunning. They should excite people. They should set them on fire. And inside them, we need video testimonials embedded into them. We also, inside your quotes, we need your terms and conditions. We want online signatures. We want 5-star Google reviews pulling out. We want our quotes to look like a brochure or a website, not like an invoice. Are you with me?
Yeah, that makes sense, because with QuickBooks it's quite easy, because you've got your estimate, and then if they accept it and it comes back, you can just change it to an invoice. So for me, it's quite simplistic, but I like what you're saying, because if it's got more information in it, and obviously it is a sale, isn't it? You're trying to sell.
Just write these bits of software down, which are specific for proposals, quotes, and estimates, right? And they're brilliant. The first one is called Better Proposals.
Okay.
The second one is called Panda Doc. And the third one is called Quotient. Quotient.
How are you spelling that?
What I'll do is I'll put a link in the description of this episode,
Okay.
and the show notes, to all 3 pieces of software, because these you can set up templates, and inside them you can have amazing images, you can have videos in there. So you could shoot literally a standard type of generic video that says, "Hiya, I'm James. Thank you for the opportunity to present us with this proposal. We really hope that you find us favourable. Check out some of the video testimonials below." Are you with me? We can pull reviews in and get all that social proof in. These pieces of software also email you and let you know when that customer has opened the email. It also lets you know how much time they spent on each page of that quote. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So anyway, we're getting off beaten track again. But what I'm saying is, at this point, we need software that's going to manage your numbers, which you're using QuickBooks, which is a great start. The second piece of software that we're going to need is a piece of software that's going to look after all of the leads and all of the sales that come into your business. Because if you think about it, if you implement the strategies that I teach on this podcast, you should be overrun with leads. So if we're going to generate, let's say, an extra 10 leads a day or 10 leads a week coming into your business, those leads need managing. You don't want to be manually having to deal and ring every single one of them customers up, do you?
No.
So what we do is we have some software that deals specifically with sales and leads, right?
Okay.
So a couple of pieces of software I'm going to recommend. The first one is our software, Leadzilla, right? Because Leadzilla will look after all your sales, all your leads, all your sales pipelines and everything. But to show you that I'm not being biased, I'm going to mention a couple of other pieces of software that do things similar to Leadzilla. So the other one is Active Campaigns, and the other one is HubSpot. Again, I'll link all these up in show notes. So now when you think about it, we've got a piece of software that's dealing with all the numbers. We've got another piece of software that's dealing with all the sales and all the leads and all the marketing that's coming in. But when we turn those leads and sales into a potential job, the third piece of software that we need is a piece of software that's a job management piece of software. Write it down. It's job management. And this is what's going to look after the multiple jobs that you are running. It's going to look after your labor. It's going to deal with the communications with your customer. It's going to deal with the ordering of all your materials for each job, so we can get super organized on all the jobs that we're currently running. And for that, I'm going to recommend some software. If you want to write these down, again, I'll link them up in show notes. But we've got ServiceMate, which I'm a massive advocate for. ServiceMate is a brilliant job management tool for all businesses, right? The second one is Commusoft.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Commusoft. And the third one, which is a little bit basic, but depending on where you are in your customer, in your journey of growing a business, is Tradify. Now, Tradify is okay for a one-person, small, micro setup. But as we start to grow and scale and we start taking on more staff, more subbies and more jobs, for me, Tradify is a little bit too basic as it stands at the minute, which is why I'm suggesting that people take a look at ServiceMate or Commusoft.
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, what we need to do now is we need to get all these three pieces of software talking to each other, so that when if you start at the beginning of the customer journey, when the lead comes in, you've got something like Leadzilla that's dealing with all the automation and all the sales pipeline. What that then does is that then transfers all that data from that customer over to, let's say, ServiceMate, that's going to manage the jobs without you doing anything. And then if that person becomes a paying customer, all that information then is transferred into QuickBooks or Xero automatically. So the transfer of data from one place to another is happening automatically without you having to do anything. And when you think about this, stitching these three pieces of software together, you've now got like a system that can run your entire business, because all of the leads are coming into one piece of software and being dealt with. When we win the job, that information is transferred over to the job management software. And then if they become a paying customer, all that lot, in your case, is going into QuickBooks. So now we've got an ecosystem of software and tools that are starting to run our entire business. But we can't do that, James, until you've sat down and got the before, during and after steps out. So we can see what that pipeline looks like. We can see what that customer journey looks like. And then from that, we can say, right, out of these 3 pieces of software, which part of that pipeline and that process and that customer journey is going to be dealt with these 3 pieces of software. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And as long as they talk in unison and transfer over, I think that could be quite a smooth process.
Yeah. And it is, systemizing is all about taking all the manual data entry out of things. If you're having to put data into QuickBooks and then you're having to put the same data into ServiceMate and then the same data into Leadzilla, we're duplicating actions that can all be systemized. The next thing is, once we've got the right software, right, the final stage in this, James, is that's okay. We've now got that customer journey systemized and automated and dropped into some software. But if you're the only person that knows how that system works, again, you're never going to be able to go on holiday for 2 or 3 weeks without being badgered, because you're the only one that knows the system works. So the third part to all this strategy is delegation. You've got to be able to delegate all these systems and these processes to somebody else. And these are these low value tasks. If we can get somebody else picking up and the running of these systems, it's going to free up, I would have thought, 60, 70% of your time, James, where you can then start spending that time on high value tasks and scaling your business.
Wow. Okay.
So with that in mind, here's what you need to do next. We need to put in place processes, what I call SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. And this is where you're going to have an instruction manual or video tutorials on how your business systems run. So if you think about it, if you were to go and buy some new fitted furniture from IKEA or a new kitchen from Howdens, right? When you get all that flat pack furniture, you are presented with an instruction manual on how that furniture goes together. It's like an idiot's guide, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pick this bolt up, put it into there, screw that drawer runner on there. It shows you what to do. Well, what we've got to do is we've got to show the people that we're delegating this systems to, i.e. your daughter and your wife, we need to show them how they work. So to do this, each stage of that system, each process, each step needs to be systemized and documented. And then that documentation then is given to the person that's taking over the systems, and we do some training on how that system works, how that part of the system runs. Because if we just say, right, we've got this system, and you spend 10 minutes going, this is how we run it, and I'm off, you think you've delegated, but you haven't delegated, you've abdicated. So it's going to come back and bite you in the backside. It's not going to get done right, is it?
No.
So what we need to do is we need to put an instruction together on every single step on how that system works. So whether that's a video tutorial that James does, saying, right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to log into QuickBooks and how to create an invoice that we're going to send to a customer. If you were to record that, James, as a video tutorial, when you come to the point of delegating the invoicing side of the system, i.e. using QuickBooks to somebody else, we can sit down and run through it on how we do it, but then they've got the video tutorial to watch if they get stuck.
Yeah, I like that. It's like the whole, like you said, instructions. It is keeping it simple, isn't it? Because they've got the fail safe of the video, so they're not having to ring you, because then that's another phone call out the way.
Exactly. What we're doing here is we're putting all the processes in place to stop people badgering you and just to get on with the job that you're paying them to do. But if they've got no system to work to, and they've not got an instruction manual on how that part of the system works, how on earth are they supposed to run that system? Because just sitting down for 10 minutes and just showing them quickly and explaining it to them once, they're never going to get it, are they?
No, this is something my sister spoke to me about a while ago. She came out to work with me to try help me with some sort of systems, but it was so overwhelming that this is all in my head. She was like, I don't know where to start. And she kept saying about the Bible. Every business has got a Bible. And I was like, what you want about? And then she obviously explained the Bible, which is all your systems and your processes written down. So if anything happens, if the boss was abducted by aliens, they could still run the business.
Absolutely. So that's the point that we need to get to, right? And again, I started off at the beginning of this podcast by saying, putting the systems in place in your business, flowing it out, getting the right systems and delegating it is not a 5-minute task. But if we don't start doing it now on some of the most important areas of our business that's sapping most of our time on these low value tasks, and you continue to bring more work in, take more jobs on without any of this in place, all that's going to happen is you're going to be stressed out, overwhelmed, working evenings and weekends, doing your paperwork till midnight, having to put a Saturday shift in instead of spending quality time with your loved ones. Why? Because you're doing low value tasks that can be outsourced to somebody else.
Yeah, I think I don't want to go backwards. And I think that's a big key for me is I don't want to end up where I was a couple of years ago because I don't want to melt down. And I think that's the key for me. That's what's driving me now is I don't want that mindset again because that's soul destroying, especially for your mental health and for anyone around you seeing it. So this is the training and everything else. That's what I want to try push to help them as well, help my wife, help my daughter. Because who knows, you don't know in a few years if whatever might change, they'll have more skill set for themselves as well, which will benefit me and them.
Yeah, yeah. So has that been helpful?
Yeah, it has actually. I've got my notes about the 3 systems and the processes of what I need to kind of now through the flow write it all down, which is something my missus was talking about recently, but this actually makes sense. So this is kind of putting it into a tangible process that we can stop to do. So I can maybe, I don't know, would you recommend getting her to ask me questions? How do you do that? How do you do this? And then we can kind of flow it down. Would that kind of be the process you mean?
It could be, but you need to start at the beginning with that lead coming in.
Okay.
Even if you just get a notepad and a pen and you write down step 1 and you say, right, the lead comes in, step 1, okay? Then what do I do next? If you were doing it and you were dealing with that lead, step 2 is what? Well, I've got to contact the customer, okay? Step 3 is what? Well, I need to vet the customer. Step 4 is what? Well, we then need to send them a link, automated, to either let them do the video survey, photo survey, or a homo site survey. Okay, then what? Well, then we need to trigger an automated email and text confirming that appointment. Then what? Well, then we need to trigger a reminder email and text in the lead up 24 hours before to remind them of that appointment. Then what? Well, then we get that information from them and we need to price the job. Then what? Then we need to, once we've priced the job, put the proposal together. Okay, then what? Then somebody needs to email the proposal. Then what? Someone needs to contact that customer and follow it up. Then what? So if you think about this, James, if you follow that order, that you're the only person that knows how it goes. If you say, for argument's sake, that there's 10 steps in the before stage, which there will be when you start looking at it like that, and there's 10 steps in the during, in other words, we've got to send T's and C's off, they've got to pay the deposit, we've got to make sure that the deposit's got into his bank, we need to send an invoice for that deposit. That's 4 steps just for sending an invoice and T's and C's off. Never mind ordering materials, never mind organising labour, never mind organising scaffolding that you might need and communicating with scaffolder and all that jazz. So there might be 10 different steps in the during. And then there will be 10 steps in the after. That's 30 different steps or tasks or processes that you, James, have got to do for every customer. Now imagine if you've got 30 steps or tasks to do on that customer journey for for one customer, but you've got 10 customers on the go at any one time. That's 300 steps and tasks that you've got to think about, right? 300 things that you've got to do for all 10 customers. Is there any wonder that we feel overwhelmed, stressed, firefighting, and we start to spin them plates that we start to drop and smash?
Do you know what? I haven't thought about it in that intensity of how many things are floating in my head, which now explains when my missus says, you've got a lot going on in your head and you're going to, like the spinning plates, you're going to drop some. And the way I described it back to her, it's like a snow globe. And you get a snow globe and you shake it, and all those bits of snow are all the things that are popping in and out of your head, but it's not always a consistent. It might just be, oh, Mrs. Smith, I've got to ring him back, and all this. Oh yeah, I've got to order that part, and then it's gone again, and you're like, what was that thing? It just blowed past me, and I need to remember it. But the way you just said it, no wonder you get a meltdown. No wonder you forget stuff, and you're like, panic stations, and then you're only being reactive and not proactive, and that's a stressful situation.
But imagine having that situation that, let's face it, 90% of the people that watch or listen to this episode, they'll be sat there going, that's me. That's me. They might have got some systems in and they might have got a little bit of delegation going off, but not to the level where the business is running like clockwork without them necessarily working in it, which is where we all need to get to. So imagine trying to take more work on, take more staff on, look at more jobs, price more jobs. You can't, because there's only 168 hours in a week. And this is what leads people to thinking, well, I'm going to have to work at evening, or I'm going to have to not go away with my family this weekend because I've got all these quotes and invoices to get out. Listen, these are low value tasks that you as a business owner should not be doing. You're only doing it because you believe that you're the only person that can do it in your business, but you're not. My inner circle members, I've taught thousands of people how to systemize and automate and delegate the business, but they've got to have the right mindset to be able to want to do it in the first place. Do you get me?
Yeah, and I think it's allowing yourself to be vulnerable, like today, and ask for help, and know that you haven't got the answers. Somebody else will, because they've been through it, and you're only going to gain from someone with experience. There's no point me going to someone who's just starting out and ask them. Be it all, they might know stuff, and they probably will know stuff I don't know because they're learning it fresh. And I think just allowing yourself to just go, hey, I don't know, and ask for help. That's the biggest time back earner that I think I could go with.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so just to recap, your action task, James, and for everybody else that's listening to this, your action tasks are as follows. Number 1, get everything out of your head. Even if it's on paper, you can use canva.com. If you go to canva.com, Canva's got what they call a whiteboard where you can just jot all your ideas down on a whiteboard on Canva. It's amazing. Another tool is Lucid Chart. Lucid Chart is another, let's say, mind mapping piece of software for free that you can use to help, instead of just writing it down on scraps of paper, which is fine if that's how it works, but to give it a bit of visual, and to make it a bit more creative, they're the tools. So step one, get everything out of your head. Step 2, look at introducing those 3 systems. You've got one already, which is QuickBooks, but then you're going to need a job management system, and then you're going to need a sales and marketing system, right? So then we have a look at the software. And then we decide, look, we can't do it all at once. I can't invest into all this software. I ain't got enough time. Right. Just pick one piece of software that's going to deal with one part of your business. And then step number 3 is, once we've got the software and we're starting to look at building this flow out in this software, we then need to say, right, hang on a minute, I've done that. So the software can now create the invoices. I need to record and document how we do that step. And then once we've got that, it could literally be a case, James, of you sitting down with your wife and saying, look, I ain't systemized the whole business, but this is the process and the flow that we're going to work towards. We've already got QuickBooks, right? So let me show you and let me do a screen record of how I create an invoice. And then from this point on, all the invoicing, I'm going to delegate over to you, but I've shown you how to do it, and you've got a video tutorial to remind you how to do it. And then all of a sudden, the invoicing has been delegated to someone else. And then what we can do is we can look at another part of the system and say, right, now we know that works. What else can we delegate to somebody? And we do exactly the same. We look at the flow. We choose the right piece of software that's going to manage that. We video record it, or we create screenshots and screen grabs and we type it up as an instruction manual, and then we delegate that to someone else. And bit by bit, all them, let's say 30 steps and tasks that you might have, one by one, we start to delegate this. And then all of a sudden, you'll have ended up delegating 5 or 6 things. And before you know it, you'll have saved a day a week. And then we take that day a week of time that you've now delegated doing low value tasks, and we invest that into doing high value tasks that's going to make you more profit and free up your time. We said we'd be an hour, so we're almost at an hour now. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing what you've just shared, because, you know, it does take a bit of bottle to come on here and do that.
Yeah, I was nervous, to be fair. I was really nervous. I wasn't sure, I've never done this type of thing before, but allowing yourself to be vulnerable and asking for help is something I'm okay with. But doing it in this format, I've never done it. But you've given me so much to work with, and I want to kind of impact it and do it. And I'll keep you updated on where we are and what's happening with it. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, amazing. So put your results, put anything into our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group. And again, thank you for joining me, because you sharing your challenge, no doubt, will have helped thousands of other people too. Well, look, James, I'm sure there's going to be people that have watched and listened to this episode that might want to actually reach out to you. So what's the best way of them being able to contact you?
I suppose the best way, if it's just an inquiry, they could go to the website and fill out a contact form. If it's direct and it's someone either in a group or in a similar situation and you just want to have a chat, then my number is on the website, or even social media is not too bad as well. So if they don't feel confident enough to talk on the phone about something, grab us on social media. I'm on all of them anyway, so it's not a problem.
Yeah. And you're proactive inside our Trades Freedom Club Facebook group on a daily basis anyway, so they can contact you through there as well, I suppose.
That would be a really good place, because it's not just me then that can facilitate helping them. There's going to be thousands of people that can say, oh, I'm in the same boat, and they'll get more advice in the group, to be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, James, thanks again for coming on and sharing that with us. I'm sure there'll be thousands of people that you've helped in sharing that and getting all this knowledge out. And I'll catch up with you in our Facebook group. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
How would you like to be featured on one of our up-and-coming 60-minute fix episodes? All you need to do is make sure that you are a member of our free Trades Freedom Club Facebook group and community, and make sure that you are a proactive member, not only posting into the group about business and marketing, maybe personal development questions that you've got, but also responding back to other members' questions. It's also going to be in your favor if you are in the top 10 contributors and engagers of our Facebook group each week. Every Saturday morning, we announce the top 10 contributors. And if you're in that top 10 on a regular basis, you've got more chance of finding yourself on one of our episodes. So click the link in and around the description and show notes and head over to our Facebook group and come and get involved in our safe and thriving community. Thank you.